I never thought I'd be afraid of my own front door. But that's exactly what I felt. Standing there, key trembling in my hand, heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. This used to be my safe place. My home. My life. No. Felt like a crime scene. She changed everything. The brass key slid in like it always had. But the weight behind the door felt heavier. Like memories were pressing against it, begging me not to come in. Late. The smell hit me first. Fresh candles. Vanilla. Fake peace. She'd redecorated. Of course she had. Same walls. New furniture. Like erasing me was just a matter of paint and pillows. I stepped inside. And the sound of my own breath felt foreign. Like I didn't belong here anymore. Even though this was my house. Even though that used to be my couch. My photos on the wall. My life. Until she stole it. It's funny how betrayal doesn't come with warning signs. No alarms. No thunderclap. Just a slow, creeping silence. Like watching your best friend smile. While holding a knife behind her back. Her name is Lila. We met in 2nd grade. Shared crayons. Secrets. Swore we'd never leave each other behind. She moved into this house 2 months ago. 2 months after I was dragged out of it. Hospital gown. Bare feet. No warning. They called it a mental break. Said I was paranoid. Said I wasn't safe in my own home. She visited me every day in the hospital. Held my hand. Brought me flowers. And while I sat there, drugged and broken, she moved in. She told them I asked her to take care of things. Said I couldn't be alone. Said she was doing it out of love. But I never asked her. I never signed a thing. And now she lives here. In my house. In my life. She even wears my perfume. I walked into the kitchen. Hands shaking. The blue ceramic mug on the counter. Still chipped at the rim. Still mine. Inside it, a spoonful of sugar half stirred. Lila never used sugar in her coffee. She never used that mug either. My stomach turned. Someone else had been here. Or maybe, she was trying to be me. In the living room, the photo frames were the same. But the pictures inside them were different. My face, yes, but cut and repositioned. Placed next to her in every frame. One of them, a picture that never existed. As kids, standing in front of a beach I've never been to. But it looks so real. I reached out to touch it, fingertips brushing glass. Something wasn't right. My phone buzzed in my coat pocket. Unknown number. I answered, expecting silence. But there was breathing. Shallow. Then a whisper. She's not who you think she is. I froze. The room suddenly felt darker. Was it a prank? Or was someone watching me? The air turned thick. Like the house itself was holding its breath. I turned toward the hallway. The door to the study was cracked open. That door had always stuck. Always squeaked. But not tonight. I stepped closer. Each footstep echoing like a countdown. Inside, everything looked untouched. But the journal on the desk wasn't mine. Brown leather. Gold trim. New. I flipped it open. The handwriting was Lila's. Page after page. Written like a diary. But the entries were twisted. Today, I practiced walking like her. Her voice is deeper than mine, but I'm learning. I wore her dress. The blue one. He didn't notice. My blood ran cold. The last entry was yesterday. She's getting too close. I may have to end this sooner. The front door slammed shut. I dropped the journal. Is it? Low. Hurtful. Then her voice. Camille. Is that you? Turned. My breath caught. I stood there. Holding groceries. Smiling like everything was fine. Like she hadn't just written my death sentence. My voice barely worked. What is this? Her smile faded. Just a little. Let's not do this tonight, she said. I brought your favorite. chicken parmesan. We can talk after dinner. Okay? Like nothing had happened. Like I was the guest in my own home. I took a step back, and her eyes changed. Oh, don't make this harder than it has to be, she said. My fingers clenched. And suddenly, I wasn't afraid anymore. I was angry. I ran. The back door. Into the night. Phone in hand. And for the first time, I dialed the number I'd been too afraid to call. 911. My name is Camille Morgan, I said. She's trying to take my life. But when the dispatcher asked, who? I couldn't answer. Because even now, I'm not sure if she ever really existed. I need you to tell me something. If your best friend started to look like you, live in your home, at what point do you stop calling it friendship and start calling it possession? Would you see the signs, or would it be too late? Let me know in the comments. Before she finds you next. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I sat in a cheap motel room off Highway 10, shaking. The journal was still in my bag, wrapped in a towel, like I was afraid it might burn through my skin. I kept hearing her voice, the way she said my name, like it belonged to her now. She knew I was close. She felt it. That's why she slammed the door. That's why she smiled. I stared at the motel ceiling, flickering light, stained tiles. This wasn't how my life was supposed to look. I had a job, future, plan. Before Lila twisted herself into every part of me. I opened her journal again, lower this time. The earlier entries were even worse than I remembered. Practiced her laugh today. It's deeper than mine, but I'm adjusting. She's more confident than I thought. Harder to erase. He said he missed her. That's when I knew. I had to become her. Who was he? My mind raced. Was it someone I knew? Someone she'd convinced? Kept flipping. Then I found it. An entry dated 6 weeks ago. She has no idea about the pills. I've been swapping them slowly. Doctor never noticed. Neither did she. My blood turned to ice. The medication. The fog. The confusion. The panic attacks that started out of nowhere. I wasn't broken. She made me look broken. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to the police and shove the journal in their faces. But something stopped me. One single thought. What if no one believes me? I had already been institutionalized once. That label doesn't just wash off. And Lila. She was clean, polite, helpful. She made herself the hero of my collapse. She wore my life like a costume. And everyone clapped. The next morning I went back. Not to confront her. But to watch. I parked across the street. Behind the bakery where we used to buy lemon bars in high school. I waited. At exactly 8:02 a.m., she came out the front door. Wearing my navy coat. Hair tied the same way I used to wear it. She waved at the mailman. Laughed with a jogger. Normal. Perfect. Until she paused. Right at the mailbox. She looked across the street. Right at me. I ducked, heart racing. Had she seen me? Was she smiling? Peeked again. She was gone. Just like that. No door slam. No footstep. Like she'd vanished. Or maybe, she was already behind me. I turned quickly, nothing. But the fear stayed in my throat. I couldn't keep doing this alone. I needed proof. More than a journal. More than a memory. Something real. And I knew exactly where to find it. The attic. My childhood bedroom had a crawl hatch that led up there. I hadn't opened it in years. But if she'd missed anything, that's where it would be. That night, I returned. Not through the front. I still knew how to slide around the fence, sneak through the back garden. Lila never liked the dark. She slept with hallway lights on. I moved quietly, every step rehearsed. Once I was inside, I barely breathed. The attic hatch creaked just like it used to, dust falling like ash from a forgotten world. I climbed up, flashlight in my teeth. Boxes, old clothes, Christmas lights tangled like vines. Shoebox, labeled in my handwriting. Letters, me and Lila. 2007 to 2014. Opened it. Notes we passed in class. Photos from camp. But underneath, an envelope. Addressed to someone I'd never seen before. From T. Do not read until after everything. Camille Morgan. My name. My initials. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a confession. One that shattered every memory I thought was real. I wasn't supposed to be in your class that year. They mixed up the paperwork. But when I met you, I knew. You had everything I wanted. Friends, teachers, parents who cared. You weren't perfect, but you were chosen. I've never been chosen. My hand shook. The letter kept going. I tried to let go. I tried to be your friend. But every year it got harder to be next to you and not be you. So I started practicing. Your voice, your stories, the way you looked when you cried. I couldn't breathe. And when you broke after your dad died. That was my opening. That was when I became necessary. That was when I started taking what I deserved. I dropped the letter. Something creaked behind me. Turned and saw her, standing at the top of the attic steps. Smiling. Looking for something, she asked. I didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. I just ran. Through boxes, down the ladder, the door. This time she didn't chase me. She didn't need to. She already had the house. She already had the story. For now, I had the proof. I drove straight to the only person who might still believe me. My old therapist. And when I showed her the letter, she went silent for a long, long time. Then she said, "This isn't just identity theft. This is obsession." Obsession. How long had Lila been planning this? How deep did it go? And most of all, why me? Why did she choose me? Part 3 will uncover what Camille finds next. But you tell me, if your best friend confessed, not just to wanting your life, but to rehearsing it for years, would you ever feel safe again? Tell me in the comments. Before it happens to someone else. The room was silent, but my mind was screaming. My therapist just stared at the letter, like it might catch fire in her hands. When she finally looked up, her voice was steady, but her eyes weren't. "Camille, this goes beyond anything I've ever treated before." I nodded slowly, but inside I was unraveling. Because what she didn't know, what I hadn't told her, was that this wasn't the first time Lila had tried to erase me. Started small, years ago. Back in high school, when people thought we were sisters. First it was cute, harmless. We wore the same jacket one day. And she laughed, said, "Guess we're twins now." But then she started copying more than just clothes. My handwriting, my favorite books, I laughed. And when I started dating Evan, she started texting him jokes I'd told her first. I didn't think much of it back then. Just Lila being Lila. But now, looking back, it wasn't friendship. It was practice. My therapist leaned forward. "Camille, you need to go to the police. Today." I hesitated. But what if they don't believe me? What if they think I'm still sick? She paused. "Then let me go with you." We filed the report that afternoon. Took hours. Statement after statement. Evidence bagged and labeled. The officers were polite, but skeptical. Until I handed them the letter. And Lila's journal. Their expressions changed. The room got colder. They promised to investigate. But I could see it in their eyes. They didn't know what they were dealing with. Lila wasn't just pretending anymore. She was becoming. And there's no law against becoming someone. Not until something terrible happens. 2 days passed. I stayed with my therapist, sleeping on her pull-out couch. We kept the doors locked, windows covered. I didn't go outside. Once. Somehow, she still found me. Started with the flowers. Left at the front door. No note. Just white lilies. My mother's favorite. The same kind Lila brought to her funeral. Then the text came. Blocked number. But I knew it was her. I miss us. You're not safe without me. This doesn't end until one of us disappears. She wanted me afraid. But fear was starting to turn into something else. Rage. I was done hiding. If she wanted to play this out, fine. But we'd play it on my terms. That night, I went back to the house. Not alone. I brought a hidden mic, a bodycam, and most importantly, the knowledge that this would be the last time I'd ever stand across from her. Because I wasn't leaving without the truth. She opened the door like she'd been expecting me. Smile. Same perfume. Cammy, I was wondering when you'd come home. Not a trace of fear in her voice. Just delight. Like this was her favorite chapter. I stepped inside, the camera recording every breath. The house looked untouched. Perfect. Even the lighting was warm. I know what you did, I said quietly. Her head tilted. Be specific. I've done a lot of things. She poured. Like we were girlfriends catching up. You poisoned my medication. You copied my handwriting. You moved into my life while I was locked away. Her smile widened. I didn't move into your life, Cammy. I stepped into the space you abandoned. You were breaking. I just filled in the cracks. I froze. You planned this for years. Why me? Why not someone else? She laughed. That's the sad part, Camille. It was never about you. It was about me. Finding somewhere to belong. And you made it look so easy. My hands were shaking. She took a sip of tea. I didn't steal your life. I rescued it. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up. Rescue doesn't involve drugging someone and writing fake memories. She raised her eyebrows, unfazed. You always needed saving, Cammy. I just happened to be better at being you than you ever were. And that's when I knew. She didn't feel guilt or remorse. She believed every word. Somehow, that made her even more dangerous. I walked out, straight to the police. Handed over the footage. The voice recording. Everything. The arrest came 12 hours later. Quiet. She didn't resist. Just smiled as they took her away. Like she won. Like this was part of her script all along. But it wasn't over. 'Cause the next day, the officer called me in. They found something in her car. File folder. It. Dozens of photographs. Me. From years ago. School. Home. In the shower. I dropped the folder. Numb. She hadn't just wanted to become me. She'd been watching. For a long, long time. To me. If someone studied you for years, copied every word you said, stole every piece of your life, could you ever trust again? Let me know in the comments. Because in part 4, we find out if justice is enough. Or if obsession ever truly ends. The courtroom was colder than I expected. Earl. Quiet. Like justice didn't want to be heard. Only whispered. I sat alone on the left bench. Hands clasped. Heart pounding like a second heartbeat in my ears. Lila stood across from me. Wearing that same gentle smile. A beige cardigan. Soft curls pinned back. She looked like a guidance counselor. Not like someone who spent years studying me. Becoming me. Destroying me. But that's what made her dangerous. She didn't look like a monster. She looked like someone you'd invite in. Ufferty, tell your secrets to. Hated. And she used every secret against me. The prosecutor stood firm, prepared. He listed everything. Unlawful impersonation, medical fraud, tampering with prescriptions, psychological coercion. But none of it sounded like enough. Because how do you charge someone with stealing a person? The judge raised an eyebrow. Ms. Torres, he said, do you understand the charges brought against you? Yes, Your Honor, she said softly. Like she was ordering coffee. And how do you plead? She turned her head slowly, looked straight at me, and said, not guilty. The silence hit like a gunshot. Not guilty. Like she hadn't just invaded every inch of my life. Like I made it up. Like I was still sick. Trial lasted 5 days. They called experts, therapists, former teachers. Even Evan, my ex. He looked nervous on the stand, hands in his lap. Lila. She seemed normal, he said. But sometimes she said things Camille would have never said. And I didn't notice until now. Not a glowing endorsement. But at least it was something. They showed the recordings. Read her journal entries aloud. When the prosecutor said, she believed she had a right to become Camille Morgan, the courtroom gasped. Lila just smiled. Like the words were a love letter. On the final day, the defense tried their last card. They claimed Lila had a dissociative disorder. Said she wasn't fully aware. That she thought she was me. But when asked to explain how she'd managed bills, rent, taxes, and even faked emails from my account, she simply said, I was helping. Helping. Like she was a caretaker, not a thief. The verdict took 6 hours. 6 long hours of pacing, sweating, praying. And when the jury returned, I couldn't breathe. All rise, the bailiff said. 12 strangers stood to decide if I'd be free. Or if she would walk away. The foreperson spoke, voice steady. We find the defendant. My stomach twisted. Guilty on all counts. The air left my lungs like I'd been punched. Lila didn't flinch. Didn't cry. Didn't protest. She just turned toward me again. And mouthed, this isn't over. 3 weeks later, I stood in front of my old house. Keys in my hand again. Only this time, felt different. Like I wasn't trespassing anymore. Like the house had been waiting for me. I stepped inside. Everything was just as she'd left it. Palace, arranged. My clothes folded. My journals alphabetized. Even my toothbrush had been replaced. It was all mine. And none of it felt like mine. I tried to sleep in my old bed that night. But I couldn't close my eyes. Every creak, every gust of wind. Felt like her. Like she never left. 2 days after I moved back in, I got the first letter. No return address. No handwriting. Just printed words. Do you feel whole now? Tore it up. But it didn't stop. The next day, I found an envelope under my windshield. It's a photo of me. Taken that morning. Standing at my mailbox. The caption typed across the bottom read, "You're doing great." I reported it to the police. They said it was probably a prank. Someone trying to get a rise out of me. But I knew better. Even behind bars. She was still reaching in. Still pretending I belonged to her. I started locking every door. Double-checking every window. Sleeping with a chair under the doorknob. I told myself I was safe. But I didn't feel safe. Not in my own body. Not in my own name. One night, I woke up gasping. From a dream I couldn't shake. Lila wasn't in prison. She was me. Giving interviews. Writing memoirs. Telling the world how hard her life had been. And no one knew it was a lie. because she told it so well. I started writing things down. My memories, my feelings, little things only I would know. Like the song my mom used to hum while brushing my hair, or the time I broke my wrist falling off the monkey bars and refused to cry. I called it my truth file. Proof that I'm real, that I'm still here. But deep down, I wondered, if someone copies you completely, so completely that even you start to doubt what's yours, where do you end, and they begin? 6 months later, got the call. Lila was up for a mental health review. They were considering transferring her. Less security, more freedom. I begged them to reconsider. I told them about the letters, the photos, the dreams. They said none of it could be traced to her. No proof. It was fear. The world forgets victims quickly. But monsters, they find ways to stay relevant. I know she's waiting. Waiting for a weakness, crack, a shadow to crawl through. Because to her, this was never about a house or a job. It was about identity. And she still believes she earned mine. Now I ask you, if someone wore your life like a costume, learned your fears, whispered your memories, and the world gave them another chance, what would you do? Would you run? Would you fight? Or would you become someone else? Just to survive? Let me know in the comments. Because in part 5, you'll find out what happens when obsession refuses to die. And what it takes to truly reclaim your name. Had been a year, 365 days, since the verdict. Somehow, she still lived in my shadow. Not as a ghost, but as a presence. Lurking behind every email, every ring of the phone, every whisper in the back of my mind. I'd stopped trying to convince people that Lila wasn't just a sick woman who needed help. Because they didn't get it. She didn't need help. She needed me. To fall apart. To leave behind the shell of myself, so she could slip right back in. And I almost did. But then something changed. It started with a phone call from Detective Saunders. He sounded hesitant, like he wasn't sure I should know. We found something in her cell, he said. A notebook. Full of writings. Sketches. Symbols. Your name. My stomach dropped. Camille Morgan, he said again. Written over 200 times. Like a spell. Like she thought if she said it enough, she could summon me back into her. They mailed the notebook to me. Against their better judgment. But I needed to see it. Needed to understand how deep her madness went. It arrived on a Friday. In a plain manila envelope. Opened it, hands trembling. Is it? Page after page. Drawings of my childhood bedroom. My mom's old coffee mug. My first boyfriend's smile. Things she never witnessed. But still remembered. Because I told her. Because I trusted her. Then came the final page. A message scrawled in black marker. Soon, it won't matter who remembers you. Only who becomes you. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my living room, staring at the window, and made a decision. I wouldn't hide anymore. Wouldn't be afraid. Because the only way to end this was to take control of the story. I booked a public interview. One of those survivor features online. Not for fame, but for evidence. Proof of my voice, my truth. On camera, I spoke for the first time about everything. The manipulation. The way she made me question my own sanity. The pain of losing myself while the world watched. It went viral in 3 days. And with it, came letters. Not from her, but from others. Other women, men, teens. All of them had someone like Lila. Someone who had stepped inside their life, bit by bit, and tried to claim it. It wasn't just my story. It was ours. And that gave me strength. The twist I didn't see coming. A guard at Lila's facility went missing. Just vanished. Security footage showed him letting someone out. No struggle. No panic. Just quiet compliance. Like he wanted to. The police assumed he was bribed. But I knew better. She had that effect. She could charm venom out of a snake. Now, he was gone. The next week was chaos. They put my house under surveillance. Posted officers near my job. So, I didn't sleep. Because surveillance can't protect your soul. Can't guard your identity. Only you can do that. The final moment came on a Tuesday night. I returned home from work. And found my front door unlocked. No signs of forced entry. No damage. Just open. I stepped inside, heart thundering. Called out. Answer. Until I reached the kitchen. And saw her. Lila. Sitting at the table. Wearing my favorite hoodie. Her hair styled the same as mine. And in her hand, a glass of wine. "Hello, Cammy," she said softly. "Miss me?" I froze. Every instinct said run. But I didn't. Because this wasn't her moment. It was mine. "What do you want?" I asked. I smiled. "To come home." I laughed. For the first time in months. "You never lived here," I said. "You were a guest. And now you're a fugitive." She tilted her head. "I kept it alive. While you were busy falling apart." I walked closer. Slow. Steady. "You didn't keep it alive," I whispered. "You poisoned it." I stood. Looked at me like a mirror. "You really think you're stronger than me?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "No. I know I am." Then I turned and walked out. Right to the police outside. They arrested her without a fight. She smiled the whole time. Like she'd won something. But I didn't care. Because the moment I walked away, I knew. I was free. It's been 9 months. No more letters. No more shadows. It was me. Living. Breathing. Becoming someone she never could. Self. Some say trauma rewrites you. Breaks you. But I say this. Reveals you. Shows you what you're made of. And if you're lucky, who you were meant to become. Now, I ask you one last time. What would you do if someone stole your name, your voice, your very existence? Would you fade? Or would you fight to be seen again? Drop your answer in the comments. And remember, no one can be you unless you let them. Thank you for watching. And if you're still here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs their identity back. Because healing starts with being heard.